ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
Coming up today is Jared Christmas on this very, very Christmassy day. Time Out called him utterly hilarious and one of the funniest men to pick up a microphone. Chortle said he spreads joy in microseconds. If dicking around was a martial art, Christmas would be Bruce Lee. The Edinburgh Festival called him dynamite and a master of comedy, and the Evening Standard called him the best of the crop, a fabulously boisterous Kiwi with a definite future. Jared Christmas is one of my favourite wacky stand-up comedians. He's in a field of his own. Jared has appeared on so many TV shows, such as Mind the Buzzcocks, Mock the Week, BBC Three's Russell Howard's Good News, 8 out of 10 Cats, Dave's One Night Stand, and he took part in Let's Dance for Comic Relief in 2011. I first saw Jared in the Edinburgh Festival. He just blew me away with his energy. He's got so much fun and energy in him that he shares that with his audience and makes you believe that he's one of your friends. He brings you into the party. I absolutely loved talking to Jared. He fills us in with some really honest behind the scenes of stand-up comedy from New Zealand down to Somerset. Jared is just full of energy, and it's a joy to watch him, and it's an even bigger joy to talk to him. Please welcome to the show, on Eyes and Tinsel, 12 Days of Podcast, Edition 10, Jared Christmas. Eyes and Teeth. Jared Christmas, welcome to Eyes and Teeth. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Your first stand-up special is live from a village pub, and you live in a British village now in Somerset. How does home life differ to you, to what it did in New Zealand? How different are we over here?
Well, I mean, I've been living over here 20 years, so I feel I've got a good grasp on the British way of doing things. Certainly, probably I'm more out of touch with how New Zealand does things now.
Okay.
I've always noticed, ever since day one, coming over here and starting to do stand-up and all that over here, that there's a mischief to British audiences. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I don't think any other culture could have created panto, which, you know, panto is all about mischief.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all about the audience just having a little bit of mischief in their minds.
Definitely. Innuendo, all those things.
Yeah, all of that, but it's also, they pick up on collective jokes that they can run with. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so a couple of years ago, I was doing a show at the Comedy Store in London. There was a couple in the front row, and I was just sort of bantering and chatting with them. And they'd been together for 7 years. And I just jokingly, it was at a late show, so it was around about midnight.
Right.
I just jokingly said to the guy, "When are you going to propose?" And then he said, "I'm going to do it now."
Wow.
Right? So everyone really laughed. And I was like, "Wait, are you serious?" And he went, "Yeah." So he stands up, and his girlfriend just looks, she's cringing big time, right? And so I hand him the microphone. I get the audience to be really quiet, and I hand him the microphone, and he does this really slightly drunk, but really honest sort of speech to her. You know, about 40 seconds of just you know, saying how much he loves her and stuff like that. And then he goes down to one knee and says, "Will you marry me?" Hands her the microphone. The whole place is silent. And then she says no. And the place erupted with laughter and applause of people just loving the fact that she said no. And then, you know, she grabs the mic and says, "Of course I will. Yes, of course I will."
Oh, good on her for that moment. Yeah.
And it was just that moment, and for the crowd to react, of going, "Hey," you know, and I think a few people were shouting out, "Wanker." And I can remember after that thinking, I don't think that would have gone that way in any other country.
No,
Do you know what I mean? Like, certainly in America or Canada, I get a feeling that if she had said no like that, there just would have been a gasp.
Really? Yeah. Like, it would have been shocked.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we've got a sick sense of humour over here. You know, you probably noticed that. Yeah.
I genuinely believe everybody in there knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And they appreciated her undermining him in that very, very important moment.
Yeah, he's going to embarrass me, so just for a second, I'm going to embarrass him back quickly.
Yeah,
before I say yes.
And that's what I like to think about British audiences. It's mischief. It's everybody at the banter knows. So we go, oh no, he isn't. All that sort of stuff.
True.
There's a mischief there. But in terms of day-to-day life, most people in general are nice, no matter where they're from. So that's the overriding feeling of that. I remember people being nice in New Zealand, and on a day-to-day level, most people I encounter are nice over here.
Yeah, definitely. There are also nasty people around the world as well. So, yes. But there's mainly good people wherever you go.
Nasty people are getting to get platforms to shout the loudest at the moment, which is a shame, because I think overall most people are nice and want to look out for each other.
Yeah, that's what we need more of, isn't it, these days, Jared? It's definitely something that is welcomed, I think. How did yourself begin your comedy style? I mean, first off, I'm pleased that you're not shouting, but it is. I mean, people need to know it's a character that you put on. This is your act, and it's such a wonderful, it's a lovable character, no matter how loud you go or how funny and how much you rant, it always goes somewhere. But it is a character that you portray, and it's hysterical. So how did you come up with that?
I don't know. I mean, I always, for my stand-up, it's always been sort of an exaggeration of myself.
Right.
I'm not going to go up there and do material misrepresenting myself, and I firmly believe, certainly with my approach to comedy, that I should always be the victim. Right? I don't like doing comedy where the joke is on someone else. To the point, if I think of a joke that is on someone else, I'll reverse it and put that joke on me. To the point that I will give someone else, as some fictitious person in my routine, I'll give them the punchline directed at me. If you know what I mean? Okay,
yeah. You self-deprecate as well, don't you?
Yeah, because growing up in New Zealand, we had in the schools. We had theatre sports, which is like, whose line is it anyway?
Okay.
Improv. So that was an after-school option. And then, certainly in Christchurch, there was this whole city-wide competition between different schools. So it was like a sports team.
Okay. Is that when you joined the Court Jesters, or is that a bit later?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a bit later. So, from, when was it? I was 11 years old. I was representing my school doing Whose Line Is It Anyway? Theatre sports competitions against other schools.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And you do, your school would, there'd be a leaderboard, and if you get into the final 8, you then go to the semi-finals, which were held by the Court Jesters at the Court Theatre in Christchurch.
Wow.
And so I did that all through my teenage years. And when I then went on and joined the Court Jesters, who at that point were the only professional improv company in New Zealand.
Okay.
Their whole ethos, what was drummed into me all through my teenage years, getting taught by these great, funny improvisers, was when you're on stage, the persona you should be putting out is happy but humble. I'm happy to be here, but I'm also aware that it's a privilege to be here.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
That's nice, yeah.
So I guess that's just in me. And I'm a positive person anyway, so even when I'm ranting about something, it's never ranting about something serious. It's ranting about how to play Monopoly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so I've always had tried to have this positivity running through everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why it's funnier as well, because it's the most mundane little thing that you're ranting about, and you think, how can he be this angry about this little subject? but you push it so far, and it's just people are tears streaming down their faces, because it's like, you can't be angry about that. It's a sausage.
No, exactly. But it's also taking things beyond what a normal person would think.
Right.
Like using that Monopoly routine as an example. It is. People do have theories about how to win Monopoly. And my whole life I'd had these little theories about Monopoly. I mean, the problem with Monopoly is it's all down to dice rolls. There's too much. You can put a little bit of randomness in it, but one bad dice roll and you're going to be ruined before you can even implement a plan, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop people having these theories. And that routine and my attitude towards Monopoly really started when I used to play Monopoly when I first started out doing stand-up with a group of mates who would just be stoned all the time. And so I just found myself winning all the time because they were just stoned.
So you were the banker, were you? Were you the banker?
No, actually, no.
Okay.
I would never go as banker.
No, that's another way of winning, isn't it?
Oh,
Just
yeah,
taking all the money.
cheating your way through it.
That's my brother, yeah.
Yeah, that's built into the game because, all the bankers are cheaters anyway. So, but it's just taking that idea and going, how far can I push this? And it's much funnier for me to be angry and passionate about it than just being knowledgeable about it.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? If I just sat there and rattled off, all the orange properties on the Monopoly board, be like, whatever. But if I'm rattling them off and I'm angry that you don't know them,
yes.
then why don't you know them? And whilst I'm giving you this information, why aren't you taking notes? It's just a funnier approach.
When did you start writing routine? Was this one of your early routines, the Monopoly one, or?
I think the Monopoly one's been gestating in me for a while.
Okay.
It kind of came into fruition probably, I'd say, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and I did it for a good couple of years, and then I rested it because I felt it wasn't working that well. Yeah, probably last year I started bringing it back. Because I kind of firmly believe with stand-up, you never throw anything away.
No, if that works.
Stop doing it.
Yeah.
For me, I would stop doing it because I want to be developing material as much as I can, just to keep it interesting for myself. And so my material turnover has always been fairly decent. I've always had that target of writing a new show for the Leicester Comedy Festival, for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So every year there would be that creative mill, as it were, to...
it's ongoing, isn't it? The writing to actually try and
exactly.
freshen up.
To be turning stuff over. But equally, like that Monopoly routine's a great example for me because I solidly for 2 years, that was a big bit in my 20-minute, 30-minute set. I never did it in an Edinburgh show for some reason. It just never seemed to fit. And then other material came along and I started getting a bit bored of doing that Monopoly stuff. I still liked it, but I just put it on the shelf and dusted it off and found a new joy in it and found a bit more to push on it, a bit more angle on it.
Yeah, is that one of your go-to routines now? I mean, if you need to pluck something, you've just got that to stick in,
It requires a lot of commitment.
Okay, yeah.
That bit. It's a deep dive into Monopoly. But since recording it for my special, I've kind of rested it again. Or most of the stuff I do in the special, not that I've had much chance to not do it, because that special was recorded in January, and then what was March that all the gigs stopped. So between January and March, I was in a period of not doing any of the stuff that I committed to that special, but at the same time needing some of it to bolster the newer stuff that was coming through.
Sure, okay.
And then the pandemic hit, and it all went out the bloody window.
Yeah.
So the gigs I've been doing recently, I'm like, whatever material I've got, I am putting it out there. I just need to build up my bloody confidence and my comedy muscles again. Yeah,
you just need to do the hour that's in your head, because I was thinking, right, I'm going to go out and be completely fresh. I've got 6 months to rewrite. And then and I did have a show ready, and it opened the night before lockdown in theatres, and it shut down, obviously. And my main act, where I just do 1 hour with my full cabaret show, I thought, okay, I'm going to try and change a lot of it. And then you come back and think, oh no, hang on a minute, people just want to be entertained. And I need to try and remember what I used to do. And so you can't go and put new stuff in there because you don't know if it works. We've not had an audience. So
the only, as well as all of us, right, that the only true test is in front of an audience.
Yes. We need that feedback.
You can practice at home all you like, but as soon as you put it in front of an audience, that's where it lives and dies.
Do you remember, talking about remembering material, do you remember your first gig? Were you 18 when you did that?
Yeah, I actually do remember my first gig, my first stand-up gig, because a friend of mine so I did a performing arts course, and a friend of mine who was the year above me, I think, part of the sort of course she was taking was she had to put on a live show. And so she hired this wonderful cafe called the Green Room that already had comedy comedy going on Friday night, where Rhys Darby started his comedy career. Yeah, so she hired that place on like a Sunday night or something, and she had to put on a live show, an audience. And so she got myself and a couple of others to do an improv show, a couple of other people doing some music, and then she realised she needed more to it, and she said, she just straight up said, why don't you do some stand-up, do 10 minutes of stand-up? And I can remember the conversation, because it was at the performing arts school that I used to go to.
Right.
And we were outside on the steps, and she just said this to me, and I said, I wouldn't even know how to do that. Like, what, do you know what I mean? I'm aware of stand-up comedy.
Yes.
I'd watched Eddie Murphy, Raw, and Delirious.
Okay.
And part of me was thinking they're really funny monologues. Do you know what I mean? The stand-up hadn't fully gone into my head as an option.
All right.
Right? And I'd seen Billy Connolly, I'd seen Robin Williams, but, this is the 90s, it wasn't easily accessible.
No, those guys were thriving, weren't they, at that time? The Eddie Murphys and Robin Williams, Billy Connolly, they're massive at that time.
Yeah, exactly. And the only reason I saw the Eddie Murphy Raw and Delirious was because my brother's mate had a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy on VHS.
Yeah.
Right? And it was such bad quality. I mean, it was good enough quality to watch it and enjoy it. But, yeah, so at the time, there was, on New Zealand TV, late at night, there was really trashy American stand-up, live from Ray's Chuckle Hut, something like that. It was the kind of comedy that killed American stand-up for a while.
Right.
So in the 80s into the 90s, stand-up went on TV a lot. All these little, live from, various comedy clubs around the States got, and so the stand-up just became, I remember watching it, and it was always a white dude with a suit jacket, essentially saying, "What's with that?" But anyway, she said, "Well, watch those programs, and I guess just any of the routines you like of theirs, just adapt it to you and perform that." And I was like, "Oh shit, okay." So I did that. I watched some of it. I stole a couple of routines. I then rented from the library, from Christchurch Library, Robin Williams Live at the Met.
Oh, nice.
And stole his routine about getting pulled over by the police and being stoned.
Yeah.
So my first stand-up none of it was my material. And to make it even worse, that Robin Williams routine, I did it. I'd never had an encounter with the police. At that point, I didn't have a driver's license, and I've never been stoned.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you had to make them believe that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I'd done plenty of acting, so as far as the way I approached that was just learn the script, man. Learn the script. So I learned the script, and, it was funny. I got away with it. It worked.
Nice.
None of it was my stuff, but it worked. And the whole night that my friend Anna put on was so successful that the cafe asked her to put it on again the next month. And she was like, yeah, cool. And then she said to me, will you do stand-up again? And I don't know what it was in me, because I had no knowledge of what's right, what's wrong, all that sort of stuff about stand-up.
Sure,
But
yeah.
I said to her, yes, but I think I should write my own jokes.
Okay, nice.
And so I then had a month where I just wrote my own stuff.
Did it come easy to you, sort of writing? Were you just plucking from the real reality of your life with the material?
I remember it just suddenly, that thought of, I'm going to write my own stuff.
Yeah.
I remember that. I mean, I didn't write solidly for a month, but I remember just ideas coming. And I ended up having a little notebook, and I'd just scribble down ideas whenever they hit me. I remember friends of mine taking the piss out of me all the time, because we would be out somewhere, someone would say something funny, and I'd write it down. Do you know what I mean? And I'd be like, oh, God, this is tedious. You're going to be like this forever. And then, so that next one I did 10 minutes, all my own stuff, and it went so much better than the first one. It was all genuine.
Yeah.
And my main routine I did was about, I just had this stupid idea of saying, if you get an aeroplane propeller, if you bend over your arms out, put the propeller up your ass. Would you fly? Would you fly? And then getting someone in the audience to pretend to turn this imaginary propeller.
Brilliant. So you used people, like audience participation from the off then?
Away.
Wow.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Away.
That's brave to do that.
I just had this bit of I would make the noise of it of not starting, going and I go, come on, you've got to do it again. You're not doing it properly. I was like, you've got to get in closer and do it. And then on about the third or fourth one, I would make it work, and then I'd shove my ass as close to their face as possible. That sort of thing. And then I ended that bit by saying, but what happens if the propeller stays still and your body goes around? And then I'd sit on the floor and slowly rotate around. And I dragged that out for probably 6 minutes.
Wow, brilliant.
So,
but it worked.
Yeah, it did work. And that propeller routine became a real mainstay in my stand-up for a long time starting out.
Oh, nice. So it's nice to hear that your act was born really on that second night when it's quite brave not using someone else's material, sort of borrowing some jokes, but actually writing and delivering like you did. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but I also look back on it, I've been doing improv for years. So I was comfortable being on stage. I was confident about interacting with people because that's what a lot of the improv I've been doing was.
Yeah, performing arts actually helped to get you to that moment.
Yeah, and I was doing a script writing course, and also, do you know what the biggest thing was? Naivety.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing stand up 22 years now, and I look back and think, man, if I was, because I'm 40 now, so I just think if I was starting out now, I wouldn't have that advantage of pure naivety.
Yeah, sure.
In the early days, mate, I just believed it would work.
You didn't worry too much about it. You just went for it.
Yeah, I just went for it. And look, on about my fourth gig, it all came crashing down. I absolutely died on my hole. I went on stage thinking I could improvise the entire 10 minutes.
Right.
Because I'd done 3 gigs, mate, and they'd all gone really well.
Yeah.
And I thought, I am bulletproof. I'm born to do this.
Yeah, it can get better and better. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easy. It's real. I genuinely went on stage that night thinking, this is so easy, and I'm going to show these people that I can make anything funny. And I remember going on wanting to talk about walking on grass that had a sign saying "Do not walk on the grass," and just saying, just about. I can't even remember what angle I had. I don't even think I had an angle. I just thought I could go on and say that, and something will happen.
Right.
I'm cringing now, and it's like 22 years later. It was so painful, and I'd invited loads of mates.
Oh, no.
I just thought I was God's gift to stand up. And it was a brutal takedown that was absolutely necessary.
You need these anecdotes to tell years later, because it's not easy, is it, starting out? But
no.
You do need these stories. You don't need to tell, I stormed every gig for 20 years. No one wants to hear that,
No,
we want to hear this.
You're not going to be good.
You're
not going to be good because
you're not
it's
learning.
Your failures that you learn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because how long have you been going?
23 years professionally as a ventriloquist, and that's purely all I do. I've been a ventriloquist, comedy ventriloquist. You can't just go out and do vent because it's like a lecture with a puppet. but yeah, it's just comedy is. I've had really tough nights, but I've had loads of amazing nights as well. And I love that I've had the bad nights because they're stories to tell now, and
the more enjoyable stories to tell.
Yeah.
Go on. Let's share worst gigs then.
yeah, we do. And that's what the green room's about, isn't it? It's about talking about your worst gig and dying on your ass.
Yeah. And we all know that one performer who, when you're all sharing these hilarious stories about dying on your ass, there'll always be one person who either says, no, I haven't got any stories, or they'll tell you a story that at the end of it you're like, you've just told us a story where you did really well at a gig. What are you on about?
Yeah. It's like saying
those are the people no one wants to share a car journey to a gig with.
I know. It's like the Queen doesn't break wind, Everybody does it, It's
yeah.
Oh, conversational.
Wow, it's amazing. So were you always, I think such a cool name, but were you always Jared Christmas, or is this your stage name, or?
No, I was born Jared Christmas.
Oh,
yeah.
amazing! I love that.
I mean, I love it as well. High school was tough, but ultimately, I'm a big fan of the name. But I remember when I first started over here, there was a club that I really wanted to play called the Meccano Club, run by a guy called Steve Jameson, who does a brilliant old Jewish comedian character called Sol Bernstein.
Oh, I worked with Sol Bernstein. I worked with him about 6 years ago. He's hilarious, isn't he?
Oh, he's so funny, and he's such a nice bloke.
He is, yeah.
And so he ran this gig in Angel, Islington in London called the Meccano Club. And all of my peers on the open mic circuit, as we got off the open mic circuit, all of my peers were getting gigs at the Meccano Club, and I just couldn't get a gig there.
Right.
And I knew Steve had seen me at gigs, and I'd ripped it. I was getting this really good reputation. I was like, why can't I get in at the Meccano Club? And then a really good mate of mine, another Kiwi stand-up who is absolutely dominating Sweden at the moment, a comedian called Al Pitcher, he did the Meccano Club.
Okay.
And he's chatting with Steve Jameson afterwards. And Steve just says, you know what I really hate is blatant stage names that people, and he said, the one that I hate at the moment is this guy, Jared Christmas. It's such a ridiculous, why would you choose that as your stage name?
Oh, wow.
And Al said to him, he's my best mate, and that's his real name. And Steve Jameson said, oh my God, I have not booked him for a year and a half because
of your name.
Name.
Wow.
And he said it's his real name. Oh God! So he rang me up and profusely sort of apologised, and it was all very funny. And then I started playing that club.
Oh, amazing! But did he think you just worked seasons? It was just
exactly.
You only work in December. That's crazy.
Also, because of the name Jared, which is actually a Persian name.
Right.
I got a phone call. This is way back in like 2002. I got a phone call from the BBC. They were after a new comedian who was Asian. So I get this phone call from the BBC. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm chatting to someone from the BBC. They want me for a show. Until they say to me, so where is your ancestry from? And I said, New Zealand. And they said, yes, but what Middle Eastern culture is it?
Wow.
And I was like, what? And they said, well, aren't you Persian or Muslim? I said, no. And it was all a misunderstanding because of the name Jared, and someone had said my name, saying that it was a piss take, that they hadn't seen me, but somehow the story came out that I was a Muslim comedian who'd named myself Christmas for a fucking laugh.
Oh, you're kidding me. Wow.
And so I'm having this exciting conversation thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get a TV break here, until they go, yeah, but this show's for Muslim comedians, and I was like, why would you even think that I was Muslim? And then this whole story came out. It was hilarious.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. So I've had quite a few funny encounters because of the surname Christmas.
If it means anything, I think it's such a cool name. It's your name, so well done on that. Yeah. I love it. It's brilliant.
Thanks, man.
I mean, I heard about you for quite a while before I went to Edinburgh Festival. You were the last show I saw. I can't remember what year it was. I had the pleasure of seeing you at the festival on the late night show. It's like a rock and roll party with a beatboxing game show, The Hobbit and the Christmas show at the Gilded Balloon.
Yes.
It was incredible. It was a party.
Yeah, that's a fun show.
Yeah, you put on a party. Was that you had two shows at that time, or was?
I was doing a solo stand-up show.
Yeah.
And I teamed up with an incredible beatboxer, Hobbit. So we started working together because I got booked to host a hip hop comedy night in Richmix in Hoxton.
Okay.
And Hobbit was booked independently as the house band, and he was on stage the whole time. And so on that first night that we did the show, I said to him, hey, do you want to mess around? Because if you're on stage when I'm on stage, let's just mess around. And he was like, yeah, cool. And our relationship built on that. We hosted that show together for 2 years, basically.
Oh, brilliant.
And then that show stopped, and we continued developing that double act. And we now have a kids show that we do called the Mighty Kids Beatbox Comedy Show.
Oh, fantastic. Is that for Edinburgh or for all festivals?
We've been doing it all over. So, like you, we started a nationwide tour of the kids show this year.
Oh, brilliant.
And but COVID obviously cut that short. We did 5 shows in our 40-date tour.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Selling really nicely.
Wow.
It all got stopped. And we had a great year in Edinburgh last year. We had a sell-out run there. We've done a handful of shows recently that have gone really, really nicely. It's just so good to work with. I mean, you're constantly working with double acts with your puppets, but ultimately, it's just you. For me, having done so many years solo performing, to then be working with someone, the pressure is just a little bit less, and also he's incredible. He's a UK beatbox champion, the beatbox group he's in, the world champion, he's UK loop station champion, so even on a bad day, it's still really impressive.
Oh, it's so entertaining. Yeah. Was it difficult to be in a solo act?
On a bad day, I'm just a bloke talking.
Was it difficult to stop talking and remember that you was in a double act at that time? Or, no,
it wasn't. I mean, maybe we had to learn. We learned the early days of that show was basically me really, really driving the show, and then he would do beatboxing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But over the years of doing it, he's developed great bantering skills and improv skills, and I've learned to back off.
That's fantastic, though. That it's a learning for both of you, isn't it? It's really.
Of course. And I do remember saying to him, mate, if I am waffling and going on and on, just cut me off and tell me that I'm doing that on stage, because that will be funny. And so he started developing this thing of he would just interject and go, is this going somewhere? And I'd be like, nah, you're right, it's not really, is it? You know what I mean? And then we would just push on with another bit.
You just go with it, yeah.
Yeah, but that show was great. I think that year must have been the first time we did it.
Yeah, I was. It was the last show of our festival. We were so happy to get tickets because we were finishing on a high, and it was literally like a New Year's Eve party you put on for us. It was great.
Yeah, it was called Party Time Bitches. Yeah,
it was so good.
That was good. That was a good show. It was fun.
You've done a lot of touring as well. You supported Ross Noble. I mean, he's an improvisation king, isn't he? I love watching Ross.
Yeah, he was a huge influence on a lot of us when we started out. I mean, I think he started doing stand-up when he was 14 or something.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And he's another great example of see how far you can push it. Keep going.
Yeah.
I think there's that tendency to write something, get the initial big laugh, and go, okay, that's finished. When in actual fact, keep pushing, see where else you can take it. See how far you can take it. I had a show called Let's Go Mofo that I opened up by high-fiving people in the crowd. And initially I was just high-fiving the front row, and then one night I just thought, what's going to happen if I try and high-five the entire audience of 80 people? And so that's what it turned into. The opening was me clambering over people to high-five other rows. And it was just an insane way to open a show.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you could not do that now.
No, that's that whole act gone, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd get crucified if I did that.
Yeah, the new hugging routine. with tongues. Yeah, that's out.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's a similar thing for me, Jared, with the. I never done the ventriloquist human mask routine until it was kind of forced into my act, but I ended up really loving doing it because I knew it would be a hit. But I'd done it for about 2 years, but that's something I'm not going to be able to do because it's it's dealing with people's faces, which is they're already wearing masks. It might work.
How did you find the Britain's Got Talent experience?
Just to up your profile even more, I think I mean, for you, I think you'd kill on it. I think it would be amazing. But is that something where you would look down, because the stand-ups are going down really well at the moment? I think it has a little, it had a couple of years of magicians, and then they go for the singers, and then dancers, I think. But I think stand-ups, people really need comedy at the moment. I think next year will be good for comedy as well. But for me, it was the right time to do 7 years ago. There's never been a ventriloquist in the final, so I thought there'd be an open spot for me to actually do something different. And I quickly had a Simon Cowell puppet made up, which was pulling out of the bag, at the last minute. I never told them I was going to do it, even the producers. If you've got something up your sleeve where you can just wow them when it's live, and then it's something that you need to do for yourself. I think you need to come out with something fresh and not too predictable, So I mean, just me using the old man puppet was great. It worked, but I knew that I needed that something different on that show, and so for me it was great. It was over once the show went live. It was over in 2 weeks. This year it took 8 months to do it, so it dragged a bit, didn't it? Of course. But I had two of my buddies in the final this year, which was great.
Brilliant.
Yeah, John Courtney won, and third was Steve Royal, the juggler. They were brilliant.
Look, let's talk about how amazing Steve is.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked on and off with him over 20 years, and he just lights up a room, doesn't he?
He lit up that show as well, didn't he? With his colours and personality. He really does light up venues when you work with him as well.
And it's amazing to see what he can do when people throw some money behind his props.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because
they get bigger.
I'm used to working with him in comedy club.
Yeah.
And then to see him on Britain's Got Talent, he's got just this insane level of props. You're like, well, yeah, we got to, that's, if we had that money behind us, right, that's what you can do.
That studio where he had no roof, basically, when you do comedy clubs, you can touch the ceiling, and Steve Royal can't do much, but he's just visually so funny. But when he had the chance to have giant juggling balls, beanbags, it works, and it just enhanced the routine, it's fantastic.
I just watch it going, where did you practice? You're not practicing that in your house, are you?
That's true. Unless he's got one of these Elizabethan high-ceilinged places, but or a garden. A garden, I guess, would do.
Garden would do, yeah. Not bit of nice weather. Throw a few beanbags around. Done.
Yeah, well, it certainly worked. I was really pleased for him and John to get to the finals, and it does go to show that comedy can work on it, And
Abdul Rashid, he's fantastic. I've worked with him a few times. Last year my wife and I put on a show with Tez Elias called Laugh the Face of Hate in response to the Christchurch mosque attacks.
Right.
And Abdul did the show for us there. Oh my God, he absolutely ripped that place apart.
He rocked it.
So good. So good. Yeah.
There's huge confidence about him, and he was tackling subjects that, obviously it was so topical on that show, but it was full of magic. It was full of comedy. There was no music, really. It was only John Courtney on the piano. Usually it's full of dancers and singers, but there wasn't really. They just went for the comedy in the end, which was great.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
Yeah, to have 3 in the top 5, it was fantastic. Yeah. Is that something that you think you'd like to do, or is it not?
I got asked a couple of years ago.
Right.
And me and Hobbit have been asked to do it.
Okay.
And I don't know. Basically, to do it, we'd have to leave our agent.
Okay.
And because if you get to the semi-finals or something like that, you have to sign with Psycho Talent or something like that.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that just didn't sit well for me. And also, look, in all honesty, it's a scary gig for a stand-up.
It is, yeah. It totally. I mean, you've seen some stand-ups, some great stand-ups on there, and they've got buzzed or they've not got through, and they've only got 3 minutes, and you need to, you can grab an audience in 3 minutes in the comedy club, but when you're being judged and you're being buzzed, it's a pressure, isn't it? It's such a huge pressure.
And we all know that, in those initial rounds, that audience has been in there for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and if you go on at about the hour mark, you're sailing. But if you're near the end, to a fatigued crowd who might have seen a few stand-ups already,
sure,
you know, that's going to be that's a tough sell. So a lot of it is, you know, I wouldn't want to put myself in that position.
Yeah, I never did. I never wanted to. For 7 years, I turned it down, and then I kind of gave in. I felt it was the right time, but I thought, what have I got to lose? So I was doing the same gigs, you know, which I don't mind. I don't mind just paying the bills, but then you need to sometimes challenge yourself, don't you? And so, I mean, you've had some great TV spots. You know, I saw a rant the other day, which is hilarious, with you saying I've been on Buzzcocks once. You know, we do all these shows once.
Oh yeah. I did a thing called. I've got a little online sketch things called Shed Talk.
Shed Talk, not TED Talk. I like that.
Yeah. Shed Talks, like TED Talks, but shitter and in a shed. Yeah.
Speaking of your one-off TV specials, because people can watch this now at the end of the podcast, click on Jared Christmas Does Madonna for comic relief. That's genius. Have you still got the leotard? That was so funny.
I wasn't allowed to keep it.
No?
I wasn't allowed to keep it.
The costume kept it. Wow.
That was seriously one of the most fun things I've ever done.
It was great.
It was a huge amount of fun, and ridiculous. You know, it's nothing like working intensely with dancers for a week to make you realise just how out of shape you are.
But you can move. I mean, you learnt the routine. The choreography was great.
I learned the routine, and I enjoyed learning the routine. And then 2 days before the live show is when they put me in the high heels, and I basically had to relearn the whole routine again because, you know, any
story.
woman listening who wears high heels knows it just changes your centre of gravity, it changes how you walk, you know, so dancing, it certainly gave me a new appreciation for anybody who performs in high heels.
Well, Strictly Come Dancing, is that not coming up pretty soon then? No, is that?
yeah, I mean, fair play to all of them who are in heels.
Yeah.
I mean, all these blokes in flat shoes, God, easy, mate.
Ice and tea. Are you more comfortable in the mastermind chair? Now, when you've done that for Children in Need, you smashed your subject with Transformers the early years. You looked like you, and this is all on YouTube, but you looked like you were shocked that you knew all the answers on that because you smashed it.
Yeah, I think I was shocked. I think I was a bit shocked that I knew the questions because I wasn't sure how they were going to go with it, whether they were going to actually ask me, you know, like really tough ones, like who was the voice actor who voiced this character and stuff like that. And I knew a bit of that info.
Yeah.
But, so it's just hilarious hearing John Humphreys, isn't it, the host?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Hearing him say these ridiculous questions and these ridiculous names. Names that I've grown up with and absolutely love.
Yeah.
But there was one question that really made me laugh. He said, in the episode Invasion of the Insecticons run out of Energon. Where do the Decepticons take the Insecticons to get more Energon? And
it's such a long question.
He fluffed it a bit, and then I think I said to him, can you repeat the question? And, you know, so, that was a lot of fun, that one. What I really surprised myself on was the general knowledge round.
Yeah.
How much I actually knew.
Yeah, you
I had no chance. I was up against Russell Kane, who was doing Evelyn Waugh novels. And I think in his specialist round, he got 20 out of 20.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I think we managed to get through 12 questions. Do you know what I mean? So, but that was a lot of fun. All the bits and pieces of TV I've done have been a lot of fun, apart from bombshell moment. Thoroughly did not enjoy Mock the Week.
No?
No.
Who was on the panel with you on that show? Does it depend on how those moments go with the acts?
Maybe. I mean, I did it. Mock the Week has changed a lot now. atmosphere on it has changed. When I did it, it was still a very combative environment.
Yeah.
And which is fine, but I was on Russell Howard and Andy Parsons' team, and it just I wasn't prepared enough, I don't think, and I got rattled a couple of times, and I think I did okay on it. But the weird thing is when you get these shows, you know, it's a big thing,
yeah,
because
yeah.
everyone. So, you know, this was back in 2000 and I think it was 2010 maybe.
Okay.
Everyone wants to get on those shows.
Yeah, they're big moments, aren't they, for stand-ups?
Yeah, this could raise your profile. It could all this. And so that pressure that I put on myself going on Mock the Week was, you know, in the build-up to it,
Yeah.
I was just thinking, I've got to nail this, because if I nail this, it's going to change my career. When in actual fact, I just put way too much pressure on myself and crumbled a bit. I think what you can see online is I do all right on it, but in the actual record, oh man, I found it really, really tough, and I felt out of my depth and not ready for it.
Right.
Well, maybe I was ready, but I didn't rise to the occasion.
Yeah, sure. Sometimes you hold back and you wish you hadn't, you know, with certain
but it was also
things.
not being savvy enough to operate in those shark-infested waters that Mock the Week was at that point. It's a lot different now, but certainly back then there was this overriding vibe from the people up top to make it really combative.
Yeah,
Is that the word? Is that the word? Feels wrong when I say it.
It's a good word. You do well on countdown with that one.
But when I did 8 out of 10 Cats and Buzzcocks, they were a heap of fun. Those shows, a heap of fun.
It's so nice when it flows, isn't it? It's just banter and no one's. Yeah, hopefully no one's just trying to get on camera all the time. You'll share the moment, you know, where you can just sort of banter.
Well, what I found with 8 out of 10 Cats was Jimmy Carr was very good at throwing to you directly.
Yeah.
To keep the show fairly balanced. And it's also knowing that not everything you say is going to make it onto the cut. You know, you record for 2 and a bit hours to get 30 minutes of TV.
Wow.
You know, so the pressure that you put yourself on for that 2 hours or so of I've got to be funny every time I open my mouth, it absolutely has to land.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, it really doesn't. What you need in that 2 hours is maybe 8 bits that really land, and the other bits you're just got to make sure you're not annoying.
Yeah, and you got to hope they keep those 8 bits in. Yeah.
Yeah, and they will, because they want the show to be funny.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it has to be on the head, isn't it?
Yeah, so, you know, and that was never advice given to me. That was hard-learned advice from doing Mock the Week and not having a good time and being stressed out leading up to it and letting that get on top of me to then, you know, doing a show like 8 out of 10 Cats where, you know, there's I was better prepared for it. I also had done a whole season doing the warm-up for it, so I knew how the games were played. I knew how it worked. So I was a lot more prepared for that one. And then Buzzcocks was, the producers basically said, yeah, show up at 2 o'clock, hang out with your team, have some food, and then we'll do the record.
Oh, kind of relaxed, yeah.
You know, so... Yeah,
oh, that's nice. Well, did you enjoy Argumental? I watched that recently, and that was hilarious. It's such good fun.
I absolutely loved Argumental. I thought that...
You didn't hold back on that one.
No. And again, I'd done the whole warm-up for that first series.
Oh, great.
I did the warm-up,
so
and then
you knew the atmosphere.
that I was on was the second to last episode.
Okay.
So, you know, I intensely watched how the show was played and how to do it.
Yeah.
And also I was on with Marcus Brigstock, who I'm really good mates with, and Rufus Hound, who I'm good mates with. So, and I think Lucy Porter was on. So these were all people
Yeah.
that I felt really comfortable around.
That's important.
And I kind of just absolutely let loose on it. And I thought that format, argumental, brilliant for stand-ups. Checked a lot of boxes for stand-up skill set.
Isn't it? Especially for improvisation, if you've not learnt it before. I mean, it can be something you can just improvise, isn't it?
Yes. I think the perfect mix was parts of it were improvised and parts of it were scripted. And I thought, for that full range of types of comics that you get, there was something in it for every skill set that a comedian can have or should have.
Yeah.
And I was a bit sad to see that show go because I thought it was a pretty well crafted show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a completely different premise, wasn't it? It was different.
Ho, 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 ho.
If you're sat around a table with three people, alive or dead, they can be alive when they come, but who would you choose? Really well-known people, whether they're comedians or anyone from history that you'd love. Who would those three people be sat with you?
I would go Robin Williams for just pure entertainment value.
Yeah.
I'd just sit back and watch him.
Oh, me too. Do you know what? I wouldn't need anybody else if Robin was there, to be honest.
I don't think anybody would get a chance to speak if Robin was there.
No.
But I mean, I did have the privilege of seeing him live in LA a couple of years. Well, not a couple of years ago, but years ago.
Nice. Yeah.
Him and Eddie Izzard were doing a show, and both of them hugely influential on me as I was growing as a stand-up comedian. So that was an amazing show to see. Anyway,
incredible.
Robin Williams, the screenwriter William Goldman, who wrote The Princess Bride.
I think he wrote Magic as well, the film about a ventriloquist, I think.
Did he?
With Anthony Hopkins. It's a great film.
Yeah.
William Goldman.
And he wrote Marathon Man and what else did he do? I can't remember right now. But
wow.
He wrote a book, Adventures in the Screen Trade or something, which is a brilliant book. But The Princess Bride, film and book, like my favourites. So get him there.
Nice.
And let's go for the musician Sia.
Yeah, I mean, with the hair over her eyes or the hats that she wears.
Yeah, Sia, who did Chandelier.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to see her face? I mean, she'll have a mask as well, wouldn't she? So you wouldn't see anything.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe she'll feel comfortable enough because it won't be getting filmed or anything like that. So
yeah, that's true.
She won't need to worry about her identity.
No, it's just your Christmas dinner. Yeah.
I would like her there because I think she's fascinating, but also I would love to be able to tell her just how much of a positive influence she's been on my daughters. And how much we, as a family, bloody love Sia.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've got two daughters. You got two daughters?
Yeah. Oldest daughter's 11 and the youngest is 8.
Yeah, I've got a 9 and a 4-year-old, so that's
nice.
That's nice. To be honest, it's been nice to be daddy this year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate.
We've been there.
Doing bedtime stories, which I've never been able to do.
Yeah, I make me own up sometimes and do voices, and it's just nice being here. And this is a year we'll never forget for that moment, being a family. You know.
I'm in full agreement about that, mate. I mean, if you could take away the absolute despair of losing income and career for a time, it's been a really beautiful family time. I mean, the pressure of coming up with different voices for all the Harry Potter characters has been tough, mate. And certainly my oldest daughter really pulls me up if I commit to a voice and then lose the voice at some point. I have to refine that voice and reread.
Oh wow, she's directing you. That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was shooting for a northern accent for Hagrid, but what's ended up coming out is some sort of West Country sort of, Harry Potter, come on down, we've got to go to Gringotts.
That's been down in Somerset, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, amazing. Jared, it's been an honour talking to you, mate. I'm a big fan of yours. I love it. And,
thanks,
and
mate.
if we can get people to spread the live from the village pub, I will spread it all I can. And
I appreciate it.
It's definitely something people need to watch to cheer themselves up.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for that, mate. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and asking me to do the podcast. I'm delighted about it.
No, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And Merry Christmas.
I'm on your radar, mate.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much, buddy. You take care of yourself and love to your family.
You too. Have a good one. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Jared. Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
Eyes and Teeth. Thanks so much to Jared for this fantastic chat leading up to Christmas. To catch up with all of Jared's latest performances, online or live, 2021, follow Jared on Twitter at Jared Christmas. You can check out his website for all updates and merchandise and find out where you can watch his latest special at www.jaredchristmas.com. Today's comedy quote comes from Robin Williams. You're only given a little spark of madness. You mustn't lose it. Jared's stand-up comedy special is available for only £3.99. Get involved, change his life and yours. And you can find this at vimeo.com/on-demand/Jared Christmas. Check him out. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Thank you to vocals of Rich T, Nina, Lola and Larissa Hewlett. Thank you to Kevin Dean for all of his Eyes and Teeth jingles and theme music. Join me on Eyes and Teeth next time when I'll be introducing my 11th very special guest on Eyes and Tinsel, 12 days of podcasts. Merry Christmas-ish.
Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas.